I never thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife cheating, but here I am, sitting in my living room feeling like I've been punched in the gut. Her name's Lisa, beautiful, confident, a real firecracker, but lately she's been acting weird. Little things at first, she'd cancel plans last minute, started texting more than usual, and always had that distracted, distant look in her eyes. I tried to brush it off. Maybe she was stressed at work or just tired. But then I noticed her phone. She'd hide it when I walked into the room, and even when I'd ask to see it, she'd give some lame excuse like it's just work stuff, relax. The real sign that something was off hit me a couple of weeks ago. I had a weird feeling, so I snooped. Not proud, I know, but I couldn't help it. I went through her emails, her texts, stuff I normally wouldn't do, but something told me I needed to know. And what I found made my stomach turn upside down. She had been secretly messaging someone, an account I didn't recognize, and the messages were flirty as hell. Not just casual banter, but outright suggestive talk. I saw pictures of her in lingerie, whispering sweet nothings to some guy named Jake, saying she missed him. My heart sank so low I thought I'd collapse right there. What's worse, her responses weren't just innocent or playful. They were coated with lies and denial. I confronted her that night and her reaction was a classic. She looked me dead in the eyes, blinked a few times like I was crazy, and said, "You're reading too much into it. That's just some guy from work, harmless chat. You're overreacting." But the text said otherwise. They showed a whole different story, that she'd been sneaking around for weeks, sneaking out late and meeting up with him. And the worst part, she kept lying, spinning stories about how nothing was going on, how I was paranoid, and how I was just accusing her of things for no reason. It hit me hard. I felt this crazy mix of fury, betrayal, and sadness. I'd always thought we were solid, that I knew everything about her. Turns out I knew nothing. The woman I loved had been sneaking behind my back, lying to my face, and probably screwing someone else. That night I could sleep. I kept replaying her lies, her smirk when she denied everything, and the terrible truth that I was just another fool in her game. It was like my whole world was crashing down around me. I tried to think of how to even process this, how to deal with the fact that my marriage might be over, or that she'd been cheating on me for who knows how long. My mind kept circling back to the question, how could she do this? To me, to us. And most of all, how do I move on from this betrayal? The next few days were a blur. I couldn't focus on anything else. Every time I saw her, Lisa, I felt this boiling rage mixed with a deep, aching hurt that I couldn't push down. She kept insisting it was all a misunderstanding, that Jake was just some coworker she was helping out, and that I was crazy to think she'd cheat on me. She'd get this bitchy look on her face, like I was some kind of idiot for even questioning her. "You're overreacting," she'd snap, the kind of tone that made me want to punch a wall. But I knew better. Those texts, the pictures, they didn't lie. She'd been hiding something, and now I was just trying to figure out what the hell to do about it. I started digging even deeper. I went through her phone again, found more messages, more pictures she'd forgotten to delete. The guy wasn't just some passing fling. He was her secret escape, her little affair behind my back. And it wasn't just about sex, though trust me, that was part of it. It was about control, about feeling desired by someone else. That's what stung the most. She'd always been this bitchy, self-centered woman, but I thought I knew her, thought she loved me. Turns out she'd been craving attention and validation from some guy she barely knew. I knew I couldn't stay silent. I had to confront her again, face to face. I waited until she was home from her work trip, which was just her way of sneaking around without me catching her in the act. When she walked in that door, I was already on edge. Without wasting time, I told her I knew everything. Her face flickered with shock, then that bitchy smirk she always wore when she was trying to manipulate me. "You're crazy," she said, crossing her arms. "You're just jealous because I'm more successful than you. Jake's just a friend and you're losing your mind over nothing." I stared at her, trying to keep my voice calm but furious. "Nothing, nothing. You've been texting him, sending pictures, sneaking out late. Do you even hear yourself?" She rolled her eyes and snapped, "Oh, please. You're just insecure. Maybe if you weren't so controlling, I wouldn't need to find someone else to talk to." That was her usual tactic: deny, deflect, insult. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her I wanted a real explanation, and she just laughed, that cold, bitchy laugh that made me want to scream. She said I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that I was making her life miserable. And yet her phone kept buzzing with messages from Jake, her secret lover, and I knew I had to decide what to do next. Because this wasn't just a small mistake, it was a full-blown betrayal, and I was starting to believe I'd never be able to trust her again. After that confrontation, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. The anger was still there, burning deep inside, but so was this hollow ache, like my stomach had been hollowed out. I kept asking myself how she could be so callous, so dismissive of what she'd done. Lisa, with her bitchy attitude and endless lies, was still insisting it was all a misunderstanding. She kept saying Jake was just some guy from work, that I was overreacting, that I needed to get over my insecurities. But I knew better. Those texts, the pictures, they weren't just friendly banter. They were the language of betrayal. What made it worse was how she acted after I caught her. Instead of being remorseful or ashamed, she doubled down on her lies. She threw accusations back at me, called me paranoid, insecure, even controlling, like she wanted to make me feel crazy. I was losing it inside. I'd trusted her with everything, and now I was faced with this pile of lies and betrayal. I didn't want to believe she'd been lying all this time, that she'd been sneaking around, pretending to be the perfect wife while secretly screwing someone else. But the evidence was there, in black and white, right on her phone. In the midst of my chaos, I started noticing even more signs that she was hiding something. Small things, really. She'd leave her phone on silent, even when she was in the shower or sleeping. She'd get these strange notifications late at night, and I'd catch her slipping the phone into her purse quickly when I got close. One night, I saw her trying to hide her phone when I walked into the room, and that's when I snapped. I grabbed her arm and demanded she tell me the truth, straight up. Her eyes widened, then she threw a venomous glare. This wasn't the Lisa I thought I knew. This was someone else entirely. Someone who had no shame, no remorse. I knew I had to do something drastic. I couldn't live with this lying, cheating, bitchy woman anymore. But part of me deep down still hoped she'd come clean, that maybe she'd realize how far she'd fallen and want to fix things. But as I looked into her eyes that night, all I saw was a wall. No apology, no remorse, just contempt. So I decided I'd gather all the evidence I needed, plan my next move, because I could. Keep pretending. I had to find a way to protect myself emotionally, even if it meant losing her forever. I'd always thought marriage was about trust, about sharing everything. Turns out I was just naive. Now I was stuck figuring out whether to fight for what was left or walk away from the whole mess. That night, lying awake in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that my entire world was collapsing. I kept replaying everything, the lies, the sneaking around, her bitchy smirk when she denied it all. I realized I needed to find out exactly how deep this went, how much I didn't know about the woman I married. I wanted her to come clean, to admit everything, but I knew better. Lisa didn't do honesty well. She was a master manipulator, and she had been deceiving me for who knows how long. So I decided to go all in. I dug out my laptop, fired up some software I'd been researching, and started analyzing her phone. I knew she was hiding stuff, and I was determined to find it. Over the next few days, I combed through her messages, her private browsing history, even her emails. It was like peeling back layers of a lie. Every time I found something new, my stomach twisted tighter. Hidden conversations, fake accounts, secret meetings. The more I uncovered, the more I hated her for being so selfish, so reckless. She'd been screwing around in plain sight, lying to my face and giggling while doing it. One evening, I finally found what I was looking for, a hidden chat log from her messaging app. And it was worse than I imagined. Not only was she talking to Jake, but she'd set up a whole secret affair, full of dirty talk, plans to meet up, and girl talk about how amazing it was to be with him. It was like I'd been replaced in her mind, a mere afterthought while she was busy fulfilling her own selfish needs. The betrayal cut so deep I felt like I was bleeding out. All those nights I'd been so proud, thinking we had a strong, honest relationship. Turns out I was just blind. I knew I had to confront her again. But this time I was prepared. I sat her down face to face and showed her everything I'd found. I didn't hold back. I laid it all out, the secret messages, the fake accounts, the plans she'd made with Jake. Her face turned pale, then red with anger. She started lying again, trying to spin some new story about how it was just sex, how it didn't mean anything, like I should just get over it, but I wasn't listening. I was sick of her lies, sick of feeling like I was a fool for trusting her all these years. I told her she could keep her lies, her sex with Jake, her bitchy attitude. I wanted out. I couldn't do this anymore. I was done being played for a fool. That night she stormed out, leaving me alone with the broken pieces of what I thought was my life. I felt numb. The betrayal wasn't just about the sex or the lies. It was about her complete disregard for what we had, for what I thought was a marriage built on honesty. I knew then that I had to do something drastic. I wasn't going to stay with a woman who could so easily destroy everything we'd built. I wasn't sure what the future held, but one thing was clear. I'd never trust her again, and I'd never let her manipulate me the way she had. This was the end of my patience, and I was ready to take control of my life again. After I confronted her with all the evidence, Lisa's reaction was exactly what I expected: defensive, bitchy, and full of outright lies. She spun some bullshit about how Jake was just a bad mistake, that she didn't mean for it to happen, and that I was just overreacting because I was insecure. She accused me of spying on her, calling me paranoid and controlling. Honestly, it was like talking to a wall. Her face was twisted with anger, her voice dripping with contempt, and I realized how far gone she was. She didn't even seem to care that she'd torn our marriage apart. To her, I was just some obstacle to her little affair. I stayed quiet for a while, trying to keep my cool, but inside I was boiling. The feelings of betrayal kept gnawing at me, and I couldn't see a way forward with her anymore. I knew I had to make a decision, whether to forgive, try to work things out, or walk away. But every time I looked at her, I felt this overwhelming sense of disgust. I trusted her, loved her, and she turned out to be this manipulative, bitchy woman who thought she could lie her way out of everything. I also realized that I was tired of the constant lying, tired of feeling like I was walking on eggshells, tired of being the fool. That night I made up my mind. I told her I wanted a separation. She threw a fit, saying I was overreacting, that she still loved me, that we could fix this. But I saw right through her act. It was all bullshit. I knew she didn't love me, not the way I loved her. She was just using me, and I was done being used. I told her she needed to leave, that I couldn't live with her anymore, not after everything I found out. She stormed out cursing, telling me I was a fool, that I'd regret this. But deep down, I knew I'd regret staying more. In the days that followed, I started packing my things. I took my time, trying to process everything, trying to figure out how I got here. I didn't sleep much, kept thinking about her and Jake, wondering how she could be so callous and selfish. I felt a mix of relief and heartbreak. Relief that I was finally free from her lies, heartbreak that I'd lost the marriage I thought was forever. I had to accept that my wife, Lisa, wasn't the person I thought she was. And the worst part, I still loved her, even knowing she'd betrayed me so completely. But love doesn't fix lies or betrayal. That much I learned the hard way. Now I'm at a crossroads. I've decided to file for divorce. I don't see any other way. I want peace, I want honesty, and most of all, I want to rebuild my life without her manipulative bitchiness dragging me down. I know it's going to hurt for a while, but I also know I'll get through it. I've learned that sometimes the people you love the most can betray you the deepest. And when that happens, all you can do is pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move on. Because no matter how much it hurts, I refuse to be a victim of her lies anymore. I deserve better. Now that I've gone through everything, I've started to see things a little differently. Yeah, it hurts like hell knowing I was played for a fool, but at the same time, I finally feel a sense of relief. That toxic chapter of my life is closing, and I'm finally taking control. The betrayal cut deep, but it also made me realize how important honesty really is. I've learned not to ignore the warning signs, not to brush off my gut feelings, and most importantly, not to stay in a situation that's toxic, no matter how much I loved or trusted someone. The most humbling part is realizing how much I allowed myself to overlook. She was bitchy, yes, manipulative, and she lied without a second thought, but I kept convincing myself that love could fix everything. I was wrong. Love isn't enough when someone deliberately betrays that trust. I've come to understand that self-respect is more valuable than holding onto a marriage that's already broken. Now, I focus on healing, on rebuilding who I am without her. I've started therapy, trying to work through all the feelings, anger, sadness, confusion, and honestly, it's helping. Looking back, I wish I could tell my past self to listen to his instincts sooner, to recognize the warning signs before it got so bad. But I also realize that some lessons only come through pain. The key now is to move forward, to learn from this, and to protect myself from falling into the same trap again. I've become more cautious, more aware of what I deserve. I know I won't settle for someone who manipulates or lies to me anymore. I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who truly values me. So I'm taking it one day at a time. The divorce is in progress, and I know there's a long road ahead. But I'm ready. Ready to start fresh, to find happiness once again, and to trust myself more. I hope my story serves as a warning. Sometimes love blinds us and we let someone walk all over us because we want to believe in the best. But the truth always surfaces. And when it does, the only choice left is what kind of person you want to be afterward. I want to be stronger, wiser, and finally free of the lies. I'll never forget what happened, but I'll also never let it define me.